Hi guys, so I want to show you this video from the DUP, the Democratic Unionist Party in Northern Ireland. This is Carla Lockhart. She's an MP for the DUP and she wants Boris Johnson's government, in particular Michael Gove, to throw away the Northern Ireland Protocol because the Unionists are angry with it. They don't want it. This issue that was raised just last week when the European Union were talking about limiting the supply of vaccines. The DUP wanted this protocol removed long before that. So let's hear what she had to say.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And can I join with others in the House today in condemning the attacks on the parliamentary office of the Honourable Member for North Down?
Now, she's talking here about an attack that took place on a member of the local parliament in Belfast. It seems that members of the loyalist community, so the extreme unionist community, attacked a member of the Northern Ireland Parliament. There were also threats made against the Port Authority, the people working at the port in Northern Ireland.
And indeed my own party colleagues. The Chancellor will know that unionism is looking closely at how this government addresses our very valid and principled opposition to this protocol.
So the DUP want to throw away the Northern Ireland Protocol and replace it with nothing. They haven't actually presented any ideas of how they would replace it. They haven't said, look, the Northern Ireland Protocol is not working. This is what we should have instead. This is typical of the Democratic Unionist Party. They don't actually have any ideas. They just criticize things, but they don't actually present an alternative.
These are not teething problems, and the chair of the Select Committee should desist from such dismissive language. Does the Minister agree with me that continuing to ignore one section of our community would be reckless when the foundation for political progress in Northern Ireland, which I want to see protected, is predicated on cross-community consent? And would he also agree that as the mechanics of East-West sit broken by this protocol, it is inconceivable that North-South mechanics will continue to operate with the consent of the wider unionist community?
So basically what she's saying here is that because Brexit has created this problem between Great Britain and Northern Ireland, the unionist community don't want to facilitate cooperation between North and South in Ireland, because part of the Good Friday Agreement, which the DUP voted against, the DUP campaigned against back in 1997, 1998, part of it was to facilitate cooperation because of the peace process between North and South of Ireland. The DUP were against that, and she wants the because it's not working East-West or West-East, she wants to end the agreement North-South as well. Let's hear what Michael Gove had to say.
Well, my honourable friend makes a very important point. In reflecting on the gains that have been made since the Belfast Agreement was secured, we need to recognise that that agreement underpinned the principle of consent. It made certain that Northern Ireland's place in the United Kingdom would be respected by all. It requires respect for every citizen in Northern Ireland, all communities and all traditions.
I actually agree with Michael Gove on something. Michael Gove is basically telling her to get lost. He's saying, look, you have your concerns in the unionist community. She's saying the unionist community. What she's actually talking about is the Democratic Unionist Party and its supporters and the extreme within unionism. Not mainstream unionism, but the extremes. Because you have to remember that Northern Ireland voted to stay in the European Union. The Democratic Unionist Party voted to leave the European Union. And now the people of Northern Ireland are suffering the consequences of Brexit. Michael Gove is basically saying, look, the Good Friday Agreement is not going to be affected. You can go to hell. In a very polite way, of course.
And it's absolutely vital that, myself as a committed unionist in a government that is committed to the United Kingdom.
Now he's rubbing salt in the wounds here because, of course, Boris Johnson and Michael Gove and the Brexiteers don't give a crap about Northern Ireland. They used it to convince people in Great Britain, that, you know, Brexit will help Northern Ireland. They understood that most people in Britain don't understand the situation in Northern Ireland. And that's not, and I mean that in no offensive way. It is a very complicated issue. Many people don't understand it fully, but they knew that the people in Britain didn't fully understand it. And if it was an issue, it could create some concerns. So instead what they did was they said, look, don't worry, Northern Ireland, we're going to be on your side. When in reality, they threw Northern Ireland under a bus. More precisely, the Unionists and Northern Ireland under a bus.
Demonstrates that daily, and that is why appropriate action needs to be taken of the kind we've outlined earlier. Every day there are UK government officials, there are National Health Service doctors and nurses, there are people working in every aspect of government, working to serve the people of Northern Ireland as UK citizens. That is absolutely integral to the mission of this government, and I look forward to working with her and her colleagues.
She's like, what? It meant no sense, because he's just repeating the same rhetoric as before. Yes, we're on your side, don't worry. We care about the people of Northern Ireland. We care about the Good Friday Agreement. Basically, you can go to hell. We're not going to do anything for you. You have to remember that the DUP have lost a lot of their power. They used to be propping up Theresa May's government. Now they're not. Boris Johnson has his 80-seat majority. He doesn't need the DUP. He went over to Northern Ireland to humour them, to tell them, don't worry, there'll be frictionless trade, there will be no restrictions, everything will be hunky-dory, everything will be as it was during the transition period. And of course that's not the case. And businesses are suffering in Northern Ireland because of this deal that Boris Johnson has signed with the European Union. This is Boris Johnson's baby, okay? He has to take responsibility for it. And the unionists are not happy. They would like to throw the whole thing in the bin, but there's nothing to return to. A bit like what James O'Brien used to say about how your car would be crushed, and then you go back to what? You go back to nothing. It's not like going back to your old car. You've decided, crush my car. I want Boris Johnson, Michael Gove, Nigel Farage have promised me a new one. Crush this one, and then you discover that Michael Gove, Boris Johnson, and Nigel Farage have sold you an invisible car, or a phantom car, or a unicorn car. You can say, well, I don't like it. Let's go back to the old car. Wait a minute, the old car has been crushed. That's basically what the DUP would like, in a sense, but you have to remember they actually campaigned for Brexit. They campaigned to have their car crushed. Let me know in the comment section, guys, what you think. As always, your comments are greatly appreciated. Thanks a lot. I want to say a big thank you to all of my patrons. You ensure that this channel continues to exist. I'm eternally grateful for all of your support. If you join Patreon, you will receive instant access to our Discord server, where we have both audio and video chats. You can chat with me and other patrons, where we discuss important and non-important issues. Becoming a patron per month costs about the same as a large coffee, so why not check it out?